I'm super excited about this, as always. Hello, Deborah. Hi, 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 guys. How are you? Hi, Tommy. Hi, Pastor Tommy. How are you? I am adding you just now. Um, I think we're good. Hey, Rufaro. Hey, guys. Hello. Hello.
Hey Simu,
Hey, how
how's
are
it
you?
going?
How are you doing?
Oh no, you're looking good. I like those earrings.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh man, what a
The,
great continent we have. Might as well
you're
wear
from,
them on your ears.
can you believe we're burying her today via Facebook? A friend of mine.
Oh no, burying you?
Yeah, she passed on like 2 days ago in Cape Town. So it was everything was just via Facebook.
Oh no, man,
Yeah.
that's so sad to hear. What happened?
She just collapsed and that was it.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
It's not tough. I mean, it's not easy. Lot of
yeah,
tough situations.
it really sucks. It sucks that we can't be there. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you
Okay.
perfectly. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, it's just crazy times. It's sad that we can't be there. Family couldn't be there. Only 20 people were allowed in the church. Everyone else, it was just a live thing. So it was crazy.
yeah. I moving everything online has just been an interesting thing to watch. Someone graduating
Yeah.
and they're graduating online and they're having to bring
Yeah.
food like right next to them and have a graduation dinner online, which I mean, you
It's
just make the best of it, right?
You have to make the best of. How is it that side? How are you guys?
Yeah, things are good. There's two different camps, and I think around the world there are two different camps.
Yeah.
One is God, your promise is bigger than the impossibility,
Yeah.
and so we're going to stand on your promise to see the goodness come out of this.
Yeah.
And then you have the other camp, which is, are we going to make it through?
Yeah.
And is the world coming to an end? And I think there's truth in both, in the sense of the world is changing,
Yeah.
but His promises are always going to be greater than the challenges that we face. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, and it's crazy to. I think for me, the one thing that I'm finding it a bit of a challenge is um really just uplifting people that do not understand that like, don't worry, we're going to be okay, we're going to see things through, it's going to be fine. Like I am failing to encourage other people that are not probably in the same place as me in terms of my belief, like, we're going to be okay. I know it's
yeah,
changed, it's different, but we're going to be okay.
and I think one thing would be to say, why aren't we not going to be okay? Like,
Yeah.
why are we going to just die and fail? And if you actually ask people, it's there's not a lot of validity to it. it
Yeah.
it actually stops, um, at pretty simple ideas. Well, we're not sure what's going to happen. Of course,
Yeah.
that's okay, but don't base your everyday life off of things that may or may not happen.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, but you're a great voice for hope, Simu, and I love what you're doing with these conversations. Thanks for stepping up.
Thank you, Tommy.
Rachel said to me, Rachel's like, man, Simu's like an Oprah, like the way she carries herself and the way she connects. So she's a big fan. Yep. Hmm.
Yeah. So, okay, someone is saying I should check my sound. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you pretty good. It's coming in and out sometimes.
Oh, okay, cool. So anyway, I was just saying to Gift, I'm gonna look for a way to just break everything, and just start by just your love of nature. And I was like, do you know how many prayers I've had to pray? How strong prayers I've had to do each time you guys would go to the bush, I
Yeah.
was like, Lord Jesus, this guy wants my husband killed. Where does your love of nature come from?
Yeah. So I think my dad taught me the love of nature.
Yeah,
And here's what I feel like, right? When people ask, why do you like it so much and why do you push the boundaries? Your husband was with me on one of the craziest trips I've ever had in my life,
yeah,
where we were surrounded by lions, camping with lions, and the guy that was supposed to bring a gun couldn't come. So we only had a knife. And so
yeah,
your husband was with me while we were tracking lions,
yeah,
and I heard this heard the sound that kept on like coming through, kind of like a like a motorbike, and
yeah.
I looked back and it's Gift praying in tongues. It wasn't a motorbike, and so I was like, Gift, we're gonna be okay. And one thing about your husband is that he's he's always bold enough to say, okay, Tom, let's do it. But in the
Yeah,
moment, he's the one that's praying like a motorbike. Um,
yeah,
and so my dad taught me the love of the bush,
yeah,
and I think just growing up, one of the things that he taught us when we would go out
yeah,
is that fear should never freeze you,
yeah.
but it should help you make better decisions. And so
Wow.
I think a lot of people are frozen by fear, when
Yeah,
really what fear should do is push you into wise decisions, and so
yeah,
push you to being careful and discerning. So
yeah,
yeah, I think that's where it came from. I grew up in the bush. My dad would always
yeah,
take us out there, and in turn, I like to do that with other people. So
yeah. Well,
yeah,
yeah. And I remember Rachel and the girls were saying we need to do something as well, something like that. But no one would take up the bush side. We're like, we'll be in a spa somewhere, doing our nails, having a massage. We're not doing no bush thing.
yeah. Well, you know what's going to be better than the bush is if you guys go. I mean, I would suggest you guys go skydiving together because it's actually less risky, um, and it'll give you guys a free um, blow drying blow dry.
Okay. So one of the things that I know that you're passionate about is young people. And you're passionate about business. You're passionate about nature. You're passionate about the kingdom. Just seeing things move, especially with the young people. I just want to know, like, what do you think what our role is as young people in the kingdom? Like, what should we be doing right now as young people, not only because of COVID, but because of this generation?
Um, that's a big question because I think young people should be doing a lot of things,
Yeah,
including working out, eating right, and
yeah,
but so here's what I believe, Simu, is that we live in an age of content, right?
yeah,
So much content, comparison. Because there's so much content, there's an opportunity to compare,
yeah,
and with that, these medical journals have said we are the loneliest, the loneliest generation on the planet that has
wow,
ever existed. And so when you look at that, whenever you feel like there's loneliness in your community or your city, so often it's because we haven't seen the gifts in the right place. And
mm,
I think so. So a lot of people are looking out for, where do I fit? Big
yeah,
question is, where do I fit? Where do I belong?
yeah,
And I think Mother Teresa said this. She said I've traveled all around the world. I've seen cancer. I've seen AIDS. I've seen
yeah,
polio and malaria. But the biggest sickness that I've seen is the sickness of loneliness.
wow,
And so it's just interesting because um, what my challenge is to young people, and one of my passions is that every single person has an incredible, unique gift that's been fashioned in them, right?
Yeah.
When the Bible talks about all of us having gifts and measures of faith and grace, it's a
Yeah.
gift. We didn't earn it. We didn't have
Yeah.
to work for it.
Yeah.
And my challenge is, instead of trying to find out your gift, try call someone else's out. Because
Wow.
when you look at the transformed mind in Romans, it says that be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you will be able to pull out and see the gift and the call on everyone and how it fits together. So I would challenge people to, how many people are you encouraging on a daily basis? How many people are you, again, it's easy to get inward. What about me? What about
Yeah.
my gift? What about my call?
Yeah.
But you'll be liberated if you start calling out the gifts in other people, and you'll start to find your gift in that. So I would say the challenge is that I believe we have one of the most powerful generations too.
Yeah.
Because if we are lonely, or if the world is deemed us lonely, then I believe that when we come together, it's the best chance we've had in history to actually unite, because we
Yeah.
do want community. And
Yeah.
so I would just challenge guys, find out who's around you, look at the gift in them, and then see how you can support that gift. That
Yeah.
becomes exciting.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, one of the not a problem, but I think one of the hurdles is that a lot of our gifts have not been encouraged. Maybe as
Oh,
young
really?
people.
Oh no, haven't the previous generation just clapped for us? Haven't they just cheered us on? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean, they really haven't, and there's a fear of stepping out. Like for me, honestly, PT, it's not easy for me to step out because there's a there's a frame, there's a
Mm-hmm.
way that people have seen my life to
Yeah.
be. You know, there's a way my mom thought I was going to be. There's a way people look at me and they say, "No, but you belong in this category," and then I'm
Yeah.
like, "No, so much more in me that
Yep.
I have," you know, and it's harder if you are stifled for you to even think of someone else.
Yeah. That's really,
Yeah,
that's so true. So God's been speaking to me about this for
yeah,
our generation.
yeah,
Um, and I think what we've seen in Zimbabwe is this feeling of abandonment, where we've
yeah,
had so many people leave our country, loved ones, family, friends, and maybe there's this idea of they have it better than us, or they have it, and so we are the ones who are, we have to fight. Um, so one of the things that God gave me is a picture of Joshua and Caleb. So
yeah,
so here's what's crazy. Joshua and Caleb were two guys that saw stuff completely different in this historical, script of the Bible, right? So
yeah,
it's verified, it's real. It's not like it was just pulled out of someone's, imagination. And
yeah,
so these are stories that really shaped history. And you have Joshua and Caleb literally, um, they come back with a good report, right? They see things differently,
yeah,
and you would expect that hope and excitement and positivity for the future would encourage, people clapping, like, yeah, we want
yeah,
to go somewhere.
yeah.
But actually, it says in the scriptures that the people around them picked up stones to stone them to death, because they
Mm,
didn't want to hear good news. They didn't want to see a story change. They
yeah,
actually didn't want to have a new narrative. And so when you realize that, the two things that hit me in this is, sometimes the people that you've lived with and the people that you're around constantly, not to their fault of their own, but it's
yeah.
just to how they've been, they will pick up stones when you come with a new story.
Oh man.
And you're like, whoa, that's crazy. The other thing is, I think it was important to know Joshua and Caleb were together. And
Yeah,
so imagine them encouraging each other, saying, hey, yep, we still have something, even though
yeah,
we have to wait, even though it seems like it's long, even though we see it so close, yet it's so far.
yeah,
Let's keep encouraging each other. And I think it's we need to figure out a way,
yeah,
as a generation as a whole, to let the past lie and let the
yeah,
blood of Jesus cover it.
yeah,
Otherwise, we'll keep taking it back.
yeah. And you said something very important about you know, like coming together, and I was going to ask you that, do you think that's like one of the keys that we need to actually use as this generation, to come together and forget about certain things and just put our past behind and see how we can, just collaborate and make things happen. I guess a rewriting of a story, or maybe writing a new story for ourselves.
Yeah, that's good. So a thing we're going to have to get over, which I
Yeah,
think a lot of people are, I think you are, I think a lot of people are going, I'm going to lay down my selfish ambition to
yeah,
see a greater move happen in my community. And so, um, again, let's just be honest, right? When you see people succeed and go forward, it's easy to go, well, I didn't have that.
yeah,
I didn't get that. And I think, when you grew up in school, when, like, as I did, I had a tie and I had garters, and I had a hat, and I was at St. John's Prep. And I
yeah.
remember going into the high school, and the prefects in the high school like sat us down and they said, "You guys are the scum of the earth. Anyone who is ever in leadership, you are nothing today. We're gonna make you cry. We're gonna make you sweat, and we're gonna make you um, just like, yeah, we're gonna make you feel the pain."
Yeah,
And I think, and when you ask them, when you really pull the layer back, you say, "Why would you do that to these
yeah,
new students who are coming into the school?" And they'd say, "Well, that's how was done with us."
yeah,
And so we have an opportunity to either, in our kids and our generation, look at the younger ones and go, "Well, um, we're going to make the same pain for you as was made for us," or
yeah,
we say, "We're going to go surround Jericho, and we're going to be able to see something together, and we're going to
mm,
give you what we never had." And we have two choices. We'll either
wow,
give what we had, or we're going to
yeah,
give what God's asked us to give.
wow,
And so you're saying it correctly, Simu.
wow. And do you think our generation is serious though? Like, do you think we are serious about God?
I
Do you
mean,
think
you're having the conversations with everyone. You tell me.
I don't know. I just want to hear from you as someone who has worked with young people. Like, I think we are, but I think our narrative is not understood, and maybe our expression is not understood. The way we express it, the way we speak it, maybe the way we dress as well, is not. It's just misunderstood, and we just look like a generation that just doesn't care.
Yeah. No, that's good. And so I think David looked like a generation that didn't care. When
Mm,
when he said, I've got to take some time out in the cave.
yeah,
One of the things in his life is that he never dishonored anyone who was the
yeah,
past generation or in past. So one of the things that we have to one of the things that we have to focus on is completely walking within a pure heart. How do we make sure that we're not holding on to things of the past? How do we
yeah,
make sure that we're not um, grabbing the things that were given to us that we don't agree with, and look at our predecessors with bitterness, because that's never going to work for us. And
yeah,
so, how I guess a challenge for our generation is, what are things that you can do every week that honors the previous generation, even if you don't agree with everything they've done, because honor is always recognized in the kingdom.
wow, wow,
And I think it's easy for us to use our differences as a point of dishonor, to go,
yeah,
well, they don't understand how I do this. They don't
yeah,
understand the way that I want to dress. They don't. So we're going to use that as a position to dishonor and disconnect.
yeah,
And if we do truly serve a multi-generational God, then we've got to look at this life of David and Saul. We've got to look at the challenges that they faced together and go, as our generation,
yeah,
you never see in the Bible ever a place where Israel was blessed, even with the most tyrannical
wow,
rulers. And so, no matter how
yeah,
bad our rulers are, or the people that have gone before us are, we still have a place to honor. It doesn't mean we have
wow,
to agree. And it
wow,
also doesn't mean that you hang out in Saul's department and just enjoy the spears. I think a lot of
yeah,
people think that honor is just staying around while there's spears throwing, and you're just going,
yes,
"Hey, why do I keep getting like hit?" You're like, "Well,
yeah,
you can leave the spear throwing parade if you want to, um,
yeah,
but it doesn't mean you're dishonoring."
That's good because I was going to ask you, what does honor look like? What is honor? Because I'm just like, if your mom says to you, like if my mom says to you, you can't do that, and yet it's the right thing. It's something that I think I should be doing, and she's saying I shouldn't do it. How do I honor her?
I think that there's a time that you you honor her where there's authority and judication over your life.
Yeah,
So so when you're in authority, right? My dad's taught this a lot. When you're in authority and under authority, you have to honor where that where you're positioned in the authority line. So when you, like, I used to get pulled over by the policemen all the time. They thought I had money, um, and my wife did too. So so whenever I stopped, even though I disagreed, like I got pulled over by a cop one day. His name was Constable Sitole, and if he ever sees this, God bless you, sir. And he pulled me over, and I completely disagreed with him. In fact,
yeah,
it was corrupt at the core, and I had to honor
yeah,
because I was under his jurisdiction as a policeman in that city.
yeah.
Now, when I have my own house and I have my own home, there's certain things in the home that I have authority over. Position of your honor where the authority is relevant.
Yeah.
And so David never dishonored Saul in his own country. And so
Wow.
even though Saul was trying to kill him, it was like, I'm still going to honor. I
Yeah.
disagree with him trying to kill me, but I'm still going to honor his position. And I'm going to
Yeah.
honor the fact that God has placed him there.
Yeah.
So if you're in a place where you're like, man, I feel like I disagree, I'm not sure, God has placed the person there in your life over you for a reason. So
Wow.
walking that out with honor is going to be the way that we sow seeds for the next generation that will either honor or dishonor us. And
Wow.
so we're not going to be perfect, Simu. When you
Yeah.
become 40 and 50 and 60, you and I will have these calls and go, what the heck are these young guys doing? For us, like, and I want to, we have an opportunity to sow seeds of honor for what's coming.
Wow.
And even if we don't agree.
Did I lose you there? This always happens to me.
I think I lost you there, Simu.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go. You're
I'm
back.
trying to go. I'm trying to go near the router so I don't lose you.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, you're not only like a young person, but you're also a pastor, and you're also a pastor's child. What are some of the things that you've had to fight through, like certain insecurities or misconceptions or disappointments or, building points that you have had to go through, fight through, for you to stay true to the faith? And was there ever a time you were like, man, this thing, I don't want it?
I don't think anyone like opens up their arms and hugs the position of pastor at all. I think
Okay.
it's something that you wrestle with.
Okay.
Um, and so it's a great question, and there's probably 40 ways I could answer this.
Yeah.
Um, I think I think the biggest challenge is probably when you have so much hope
Yeah.
and so much hope for people who are desperate, so much
Yeah.
hope for a nation that
Yeah.
has the creativity unlike any other nation, so much hope for the giftings and calls in people and how incredible we could see a move of God take place.
Yeah.
But yet to see decisions of men, to see wickedness somehow delay that, it's
Yeah.
probably the hardest thing. Like Blessing Madewe yesterday, was talking to him on app, having his daughter die at the age of 5, and
Oh,
and I think in very many real cases we've had a generation that has seen a lot of deaths, not just physically, emotionally with dreams, and And I think so on the one hand, you have this crazy fight of despair. You have this crazy fight to go, man, I wake up in the morning like so many other people in Southern Africa around the world right now, and I feel this deep sick pit in my stomach, and I wake up and I'm going, is there more? There's got to be more. God, why did you allow this to die? Why did you allow this to fizzle out? Why did you allow this daughter who's 5 years old, who has so much life, but somehow, right, we have to come back to the redemptive and resurrection power that Jesus did and gave for us and gave to us, and say, Lord, even if it's dead, you can resurrect it. And so I would say the disappointment comes right before the promise. The pain comes right before the breakthrough. If we can continue to trust His word. So I don't know if that answers the question, and I'm trying to not make that a churchy answer. But yeah.
I think it does, because I know that, and I think for me as well, it's the disappointment of you try, and it just seems as if you are not trying. You know, you push, and it seems as if you're doing nothing. And you know, you want to say something and your mouth is shut. You want to look at something and your eyes are shut. You want to hear something and the door is shut. And you know, it's such a I think it's where a lot of young people right now are just like, man, we need to break through this wall, and we don't know how to do it. We don't know where to go. No one is almost showing us the way, step by step, on how to do it. People kind of paint a complete picture without painting a step by step picture. So I think, for me, those are some of the things that I'm missing. If I come to you and I say, listen, PT, how do I cross Samora Machel? You know, you are just going to be like, oh, just go down 2nd Street and that's it. But is that good enough for me to get to Samora Machel? You know what I mean? Instead of you saying, listen, get onto this combi, you will drop off on here, you have to pay 50 cents for it, like step by step. I feel like the step by step process of any young people right now is missing.
Yeah. And that's where I'd say, don't do it alone. One of the things you said at the beginning is, and again, what my challenge is, you know, the Bible's all of revival, right? And take it reform revival, take it church revival, take it economic revival, came because people had covenant with one another. And I would say, if there's anything that we can learn the art of as a generation, is the art of covenant. What does that mean? Is no matter what happens, I'm with you in this. No matter where you step, like, I'll be with you, and I will give my heart to you in this process. I think we live in a generation that's easily disconnected. So we see something, we're like, let's just disconnect. We see something else, let's just disconnect. I've even heard people say, like, well, I used to have those friends, but I came up higher. And you're like, came up higher? Like, that's just... So I would say, don't do it alone. Find people in your life that want the best for you. And say, and because you have gold on the inside of you, right? And you cannot mine your own gold. Gold can't mine itself.
Wow.
Like, otherwise we'd never see it. So it takes people to pull the dirt out and to call out the gold and say, there's value here. And so I would say it's about crossing Samora Machel. It's about camping with lions and tracking lions. It's about going to your destiny. Don't do it alone.
Wow.
But don't do it with people that don't care. And again, there's a lot of people that just don't care. But there's enough people that if they understand what it means to grow in covenant with one another, to journey this together. Every great person, right? Every great person that's ever given a big speech, they always say, I couldn't have done it without so and so. So
that's it.
I want to be two people. I want to be the person that says, I couldn't have done what I've achieved without so and so. And I also want to be the person that someone else says, I could never have done this without the boldness of Tommy in my life. I could
Wow.
never have done. So let's be both of those people.
Wow. And I know you also have like a really deep love for Africa. You know, what, where do you see us going as Africans in terms of freeing ourselves, in terms of economic freedom, religious freedom? Someone just said, you know, the issue of honor. Especially if you look at it, I don't know what it is like in the States, but in Africa, the issue of honor and stuff like that has distorted a lot of things and has left a bad taste in young people's mouth. But and
Yeah.
in Africa as a whole, you know, people look at the church right now and they are just like, you guys are a joke. You know, people look at young people right now and they're like, where are you going with your life? And I think for
Yeah.
Africa, what do you think is our escape from poverty, our escape from bondage, our escape from the chains that, even if they're religious, whatever chains we're finding ourselves in right now as young people, like what's the escape?
Yeah. Well, so it's a good question, and I think I just two answers, and I love your question, Sima. You really just are incredible
Thank
at
you.
articulating and bringing the best out.
Thank you.
Sorry. So I think we're at a place where there's this where everyone has this rich young ruler journey, right? And so the interesting thing about the rich young ruler, and again, looking through the scriptures that was verified by other historical texts, we're not just taking the Bible as religion, we're taking it as history. And
Yeah.
the story of this rich man that comes to Jesus and says, hey, I've done everything right, like I'm on the journey, I've got everything, and actually what I have, I've inherited, and what I have is rightfully mine. And Jesus says, there's one thing that you lack if you want to enter into the fullness of his kingdom. And I don't think there's one person watching or one person in Africa going, we just want half his kingdom, or we just want just a little bit. I think if we're really honest, we want everything. We want to know more. We do. I mean, if you don't want the fullness, man, like just move to Norway and camp in the icy mountains and just enjoy the cold. Like,
Yeah.
but I think so Jesus says to him, one thing you lack, take all that you have, give it to the poor, and follow me. Now,
Yeah.
if I'm Jesus, I'm going, hey, I see money bags here. I'm gonna say, give what you have to me, and then
Yeah.
follow me.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say that. He says, give what you have to the poor, and follow me.
Yeah.
And basically, this man was rich in mindset. He was rich in pride. He was rich in what he had done for himself.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at the conversation around a rising generation, one of the biggest conversations you'll hear is, what have I done for myself? What do I have? And what have I attained?
Yeah.
And in this very case, Jesus says, that doesn't matter to me. Lay that down, give it to someone else, and follow me. And I think no matter where we are in life, whenever we get to the place that we have something that replaces our trust in Jesus, he asks us to let it go.
Wow.
And so it's I think if we are at this generation, I think we have to look at what we have and say, this is not ours. And if you think about it, we want our rights, we want our dreams, we want, and Jesus challenges this guy and says, what you have, can you put that down and trust me fully? And if I think we're in a game of trust, our generation, and we're either going to trust in the riches that we have, that's been given to us, or that we fought for, or that's rightfully ours, or we're going to really trust in Jesus. And often he asks us not to just give it to some cause, like he asks us to give it to a place where our heart has issues.
Yeah.
So in this case, it's the poor. We know this because in a chapter, in another chapter, Jesus says, don't give to the poor. You will always have them with you.
Yeah.
So this was very unique to this man's issues. And God always does stuff that's personal. So we all have this personal road to walk, which is what's replacing the trust that I have in Jesus? Can I
Yeah.
let that go? Where is there an issue? Someone will say
Wow.
it's an issue with white people. Some will say it's an issue with black people, and Jesus will
Yeah.
not let that go. He's going to
Yeah.
say, you can do everything that you want, but unless you trust me fully and give to the poor, because you have an issue with the poor,
Yeah.
you rich young ruler, you have an issue. We know this because he didn't say that before. He said, don't worry about the poor. They always have them. But for this specific instance, so
Yeah.
your specific instance, our specific instance as a generation, God's going to call it out. What is separating us from walking fully in love? What separates us from walking fully in trust? That's where we're at as a generation. And no matter who you are, you get to that place. Even though it's been good, you've done
Yeah.
everything right.
Yeah.
What's replacing your trust in fully
Wow.
following Jesus? And because he wants us fully. And it says the rich young ruler walked away feeling sad because he couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of sad people going, I got stuff that I need to walk away from,
Yeah.
and I can't.
That's crazy because you spoke about white people and black people, and I don't know if you saw the story of the guy who was gunned down in America. He was running, and two
Yeah,
white
I saw
guys.
that.
And I was just thinking about it today, and I was just thinking of, hi,
There you go.
Kitty, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. We rejoice in Autism Networks. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, like I was saying, the issue of diversity, diversity in the church, racism in the church. um, what role do you think the church plays in calling out these things? Because I think, like, I was actually very concerned because I have girls, and I'm trying to teach my kids what it means to be a human being. I'm trying to teach my kids what it means to be a Christian, to believe in Jesus Christ and see a different person. When Samara sees Levi, I want her to see that he's a person, like he might be white, but he's a person.
Yeah.
And so, what's your
And he
take?
had no choice to be white because his dad was very white.
Exactly. So, I mean, what's your take on that?
I think so. We have to watch our subtleties, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so I like inside jokes. I'm just a big inside joke guy. And when I am with my brothers or with people that are my friends or like the guys from C Media, we can have these crazy inside jokes. But if there's someone on the outside that's there, they feel like so disconnected. They're like, what is this? And so I think it's the intentionality of going the extra mile, right?
Yeah.
This person is a brother.
Yeah.
You do belong. Like I mean, I grew up. Obviously, most of our church is black,
Yeah.
and I didn't see any color. Um, it was just part of who we were. Like I tell people I feel more black on the inside than you are here as an African American.
Yeah.
And so I think the subtleties, and I've been in conferences where I'm the only white guy speaking, and you can tell, like, some guys are like, who's this Murungu? Like, what's the deal? And I'm like, hey man, I'm the same. I love Africa. I love Zim. I love, what I feel like our part of the world's called to and called to
Yeah.
become. And I think it's the subtleties, right? I think it's the intentionality.
Yeah.
Inviting, and I had this people before. I've asked them. I've said, hey, how come you don't invite me to your house?
Yeah.
Like, and guys are like, we want it to be perfect. Like, we don't want you to feel like we're not like at your level. I'm like, there is no level.
Yeah.
It's relationship, and
That's
and so I think do something that makes you uncomfortable until it feels comfortable.
wow.
Because if there's something that's uncomfortable in you relating either to a different race, a different generation,
Yeah.
do something until that uncomfortable thing becomes comfortable.
Yeah.
Because it's just like the Jews and Gentiles, right? They were like,
Yeah.
we're not sure how to relate, but at some point it became just a pretty powerful recognition of the different callings and giftings.
Yeah.
And yeah, so do something do something uncomfortable until it becomes comfortable,
Yeah.
and let your kids see it. Because
Yeah.
because the moment that you do the subtleties, right,
Yeah.
your kids see it.
That's
Well,
true.
so why, you know, and again, there's this whole thing. Like, I remember Black Panther came out. I
Yeah.
love Black Panther. um, and I felt more like pumped about Wakanda than probably any white guy on the planet. And
Yeah.
but then what was interesting is, after the fact, is you connect with people, and they're like, yeah, you know, you guys should have left us as we were. And I'm like,
What do you mean?
talk to me. What do you like? I I am us. Like, we
Yeah.
are together. Like, this is,
Yeah.
I am part of Wakanda, guys. Like,
Yeah.
hook me up, man. Let's get that Yankee from America. Let's kick him out. No, not really. But I'm
Yeah.
like, there's and again, it's those subtleties. It's those things that we start believing. The person, and if I'm talking too much, I'm sorry. The person that started the TV series Roots, right? If you've all heard it, Roots,
Yes. Yes.
about the slave trade and about um, so that person, the producer, was challenged and said, you know that a lot of the stuff that you are saying in this is false. And they were like, yeah, we know. We just want to pick a fight. And
What?
so, yeah, we just want to pick a fight, and we feel like people will rally behind this. And so we cannot take stuff at face value, and we can't let the past
Yeah.
change the way we feel about our brothers in the present.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a long answer. And Rachel would probably be kicking me under the table if she was here.
That's a good answer. And do you think the pulpit is a place to address these things, Pastor Tommy?
100%. But it cannot be just about the performance. It's
That's
got to be about the heart. What
that's good.
happens on the pulpit should be an overflow from what happens in your heart.
That's so good.
And I think so often we've known the mechanics, right? We've known
Yeah.
how to set it up right.
Yeah.
But if it's not in the heart, then it's hard to pass that on.
Wow. That's actually quite deep. And you know, like I had a recent argument with my sister. You know, she's in the UK, and she has faced some serious racist issues and everything. And you know, she said a statement, and she was just like, she said it's in their DNA, and I said that's not true, because anyone can be cruel, anyone can be evil. Right now, you know, there's a lot of oppression happening everywhere from different, like in Africa, it's by Africans to Africans.
Yeah.
So it's that stuff is I think has to be called out now. And we have to live it. Like you were saying, we have to make sure that as we're talking to our kids, they can see that I'm relating to this being as a person first.
Yeah.
Not seeing anything else. I am seeing a human being. And
Yes.
no one has a DNA of evil or of racism. No one has that DNA, because God doesn't have it. Everyone is God's creation. People get to be those things. I don't know why. And it's a sad thing for me. You know, if someone looks at me, or if I look at you, PT, and I'm like, I can't deal with him as a white person. And I'm like, I don't understand. What are
Yeah.
you talking?
Yeah.
And I think
Or I smell like wet chickens, because apparently like white people smell like wet chickens. Anyway,
and,
sorry.
and
Yeah.
like I think, and I think as a generation, we need to begin to speak out and step out and overflow in those things and shut down the, like you're saying, the roots guy. We are supposed to be stepping out and shutting down those kind of things and
Yeah.
coming up with waves of reconciliation.
Yeah. No, that's right. And I think you said something really powerful about just the fact that God doesn't have a racist bone in his makeup, right?
Yeah.
And so I think again, looking at the fact that all man has fallen, right? Everyone sinned, and 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 some people have found it, have found the redemption in Jesus, and some people have seen their DNA change. Some people have seen those
Yeah.
places in their life that were wicked turn around. And so I think to be
Yeah.
able to look at someone and go, you are like every other black person, or you are like every other white person, or you are like, it's hard, and it's easy just to, I mean, those conversations, Simu, if you're not careful, they can be really fun,
Yeah.
because you're going, oh man, like how many funny jokes do we have of white people? It's
Yeah.
crazy. They are there, and they're hilarious.
Yeah.
But if you keep perpetuating that,
Mm.
then what we're passing on is a to the next generation is this dividing line,
Yeah.
and it'll be very subtle, but it'll be real.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, so I think you're right. You said it. We have
Yeah.
a right and a role to stand up and to
Yeah.
challenge the things, and not just publicly, but privately, where
That's it.
you're at a dinner table and someone passes a remark. Hey, that's not key, man. That's not right.
That's good. That's
Um,
good.
or in an elevator, right?
Yeah.
Or in a street, or in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I've been on both sides of the table where I've heard people say, well, at some point, you know, it'll be back, like it was in the 80s. And then someone else says, well, at some point, we're going to, we're going to have, takeover of one race. And it's like, guys,
Yeah.
if you're even entertaining that, then you've got to ask, like, what is Jesus asking you to lay down?
Yeah.
And maybe be honest, right? Like, what actually makes us mad? What and talk to a different generation about it. Talk to a
Yeah.
different race about it. This is what makes me mad about you. Why do
Yeah.
you do this? Why do
Yeah.
you have 7-day funerals? It's hard.
Yeah.
It's tough. Why do you, like, smell like white chickens, or smell like wet chickens? Like, talk to us about it, and
Yeah.
then maybe we can change together.
That's
I
good.
don't know. That's a terrible example. I'm sorry.
I'm just like, what is this wet chickens thing?
I know someone told me, I think it was one of my close friends in high school. They were like, bro, you white guys smell like wet chickens. And then I had to go wet a chicken and smell it
Yeah.
to know what I smelled like. I think
Yeah.
I got a hose pipe and just sprayed down the chicken and let it
Mm.
sit there and dry for, no, I don't think I actually did that, but I'd like to.
And I bet you will. I bet you will. And, and like the issue of women, young ladies, young preacher ladies. Do you think women are supposed to be preaching the gospel?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love, I think we have some of the most fiery women, on the continent in Zimbabwe. Some of them I know. I think you got something to say. I I believe that there's so much power that's going to come from women rising up to take their place.
Yeah.
And again, kind of like what we talked about before, is knowing the leadership you're submitting to, and even when you don't agree with it,
Yeah.
but walking that out with wisdom. I think there's so much that can come out of the
Yeah.
woman in Zim. I think there's so much that can come out of people like you stepping up. And remember, preaching the gospel is more living it out than it is speaking.
That's it. That's it.
So
People need to understand that it's not necessarily a pulpit. It's not necessarily. I was talking to my Kosi, and she's like, it's not necessarily a wooden thing or a glass thing. It's how
yeah,
you live life. It's
yeah,
how you demonstrate Christ, and you've got a voice. Everyone has a voice, and I like
yes,
that you are saying that for our generation, that even women, you've got a voice. You
yep.
can speak and you can step out and you will be heard. What do you think are some of the things that the church, when I say the church, I don't mean like our church, but I just mean the church as a whole, is missing in terms of young people, capturing the young person and working with the young person, like the older generation? What do you think are some of the things that they are failing to do, or maybe, I don't want to say fail, but are not understanding to do for us
Yeah,
to,
that's good.
yeah,
So I'll tell you, I met my friend who's the pastor at Elevate Church, and
yeah,
his name's Josh in Dallas. Incredible guy.
Yeah.
And he was telling me his story with his dad. And he said to me, you know, when I first started at the church, I ran the media department. I failed completely because people wouldn't
Wow.
respect me. My dad told me to go start a company. I started a company. I failed the company.
Yeah.
My dad said, "Hey, I'll give you a position at the church." Gave me a position at the church. I failed at that position. I was promoted to executive pastor, even though I failed at that position.
Yeah.
I didn't do really well at executive pastor, but my dad promoted me, and he promoted me to be the lead pastor of the church. Now, and now he's the lead pastor of this church, and he's doing absolutely incredibly. And
Wow.
I would say one of the things that we can't do is define people by their failure.
Wow.
And if you look at healthy transgenerational movements,
Yeah.
healthy transgenerational you you don't define people by their failure, by what they're about to bring. And so
Wow.
I've seen so many conversations in Africa, in our own nation, where it's like, well, that person's failed. We're writing
Yeah.
that person off. They're gone.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
like, man, I've seen something else. And you know, we always say, hey, go ahead, fail, 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 and then someday you'll succeed. But we're so relentlessly harsh on people that fail around us.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's a way that we can start applauding the failures and saying, hey, you tried, get back up, here's a new place. um, and and in that way people find their gifting. So my buddy Josh, he didn't fit in one place, but he learned so much in his failure. He didn't fit in another place, he learned so much in his failure.
Wow.
Finally, his dad, he says to me, he says, I was promoted through my failures.
Wow.
And I was like, man, that's amazing. And he said,
Wow.
because I had a dad, I had someone above me that kept on pulling out the gift and saying, you still
Yeah.
have something. You just learned from that failure, so get back up. If we can do that with the young people and say, hey,
Yeah.
it's okay. You may have messed up. Come back up. You've got a
Yeah.
place. Hey, you may have done something off. You've got a gift. Um,
Yeah.
you know, we're going to promote you even in your
Yeah.
failure.
Wow.
Because that kind of sounds a bit like Jesus, right? So when
It
you're
does.
weak, he's strong.
Yeah.
And I think I think we've made a mistake of looking at all the strong people and applauding them and forgetting the weak.
That is deep, Pastor Tommy, because I have never thought about it that way. Like I've always been like, man, if they're failing that position, just can you just just get rid of them, and then we, oh my word, that is actually quite
Well,
that
well.
deep.
So if you are trying to find your place, right, and
Yeah.
the first role, like if you're a hand and you get given the job of a nose,
Yeah.
you'll be so frustrated, and the people that expect you to smell things, you'll go to
Yeah.
flowers, you'll go to to bake things, you'll go to food, and you won't be able to do your role, and you'll be
Yeah.
so frustrated because you're expected to smell things, but you're a
Wow.
hand. And so
Wow.
so 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 I think there's a lot of people trying to be things that they're not. And as leaders, we need to go, hey, you're probably not a hand because you're probably not a nose because you can't smell very well. Why don't you try and grab something?
Wow.
Oh, okay, you're not grabbing something well. Why don't you try and hold something up? And
Yeah.
I think that's because again, God's placed stuff on the inside of us that we didn't even deserve, nor did we work for. So it's
Yeah.
not a matter of going, just refine yourself, just get better, just self-improve. Maybe,
Yeah.
but you might be a hand trying to improve in the smelling industry and you're just stressed out to your mind. You might be a
Wow.
mouth trying to hear as part of the body and you can't hear and you're frustrated and people are saying, what's wrong with you? Aren't you hearing? When really you're supposed to speak. And so if
Wow.
we can become mature enough to go, maybe you're not working here. Let's find where you fit and what God's put on the inside
Wow.
of you. That's what I think this our younger generation needs.
Wow. That is beautiful, Pastor Tommy. And stadium worship, that was amazing. I mean, that was a door right there. And I hope we're going to see more of stadium worship because I think that, no, let me not get ahead of myself. What was the plan? What was
Yeah.
the vision of Stadium Worship?
Yeah. So Stadium Worship was really about, so so I believe that the power of unity in the church is something we're still to see. I think it's
Okay.
something that's been neglected. And I
Yeah.
do think that if we're looking for a revival, it's going to
Yeah.
come through a united church that allows people um, to see their different giftings work together. So the church unites on two things. It either unites on chaos, which we're really
Yeah.
good at doing. We're so good at doing in chaos, because when there's an issue, we go, hey, let's band together. But it's not sustainable.
Okay.
But the other thing we can unite on is vision. And so
Wow.
what Stadium Worship was how do we get a collective vision that rises above every brand of church or brand of denomination